Hey, what's up YouTube? Today's video is gonna be about the Winter Orb Aura Stacker. Now yesterday, things were bad, right? Things look really bad. I put the skill in the trash can. Some people even told me that the Essence Caspi gloves for Penance brand doesn't even work. So today has to be a lot better, right? Winter Orb has to be a lot better than Penance brand. It's probably impossible that Winter Orb is worse than Penance brand, right? Well, it is impossible, but then I saw this Spark effect, this MTX that GGG released, and I was like, Celestial Spark? That thing looks super sick, right? Celestial Spark, but then I saw the actual video that they put out, and holy moly, it does not deserve the name Celestial because it doesn't look good enough. But if anyone has any experiences with Celestial Spark, let me know down in the comments below, and if I should actually give it a shot if I ever do return to Spark. But let's get straight into why Winter Orb is actually not the worst, but also not the best skill for Aura Stacker. So why Winter Orb is a question that a lot of people always ask me. Why am I trying to play Winter Orb with the Aura Stacker? And the answer is honestly, it looks sick. And it's also extremely good clear skill, especially if you use it with Herald of Ice. And recently there was a huge buff to Winter Orb, and yeah, the buff might be enough to actually make it viable. Like you do a lot more damage when channeling. It has faster casting frequency, I think, and it also has a higher base damage effectiveness of flat added damage for like smite and something. And in the past, I've used Winter Orb many times, and I've always tried to come to the conclusion that Winter Orb actually ends up being the best clear skill in the game if you're able to scale up your move speed and movement well enough. But that was back in the day when Winter Orb actually had Explode Nebulous, and not having the Explode Nebulous, the Legacy Explode Nebulous kind of hurts. And obviously we always play skills for the MTX. If you can see here, Celestial Winter Orb effect already owned, right? So not really that much of a question. Now, what is exactly Winter Orb? I know a lot of people don't really know what exactly Winter Orb does. Now, Winter Orb is not a bad skill because it has a bunch of tags, right? Anytime you see here there's a bunch of tags, you know the skill can't be very bad, right? Because you can scale of AoE, duration, projectile, so it's almost like Spark, right? So this skill scales by the number of projectiles. We do use Awaken GMP in the links, and that means that we have up to 8 projectiles. You have, I think, 5 from Awaken GMP, 1 from the base skill, and then 2 from Dying Sun. So you have 8 projectiles. So anytime you look at the damage here of Winter Orb when channeling, you have to multiply it by 8. And this is, if you look in PoB, you'll see that there's a channeling section and an idle section, right? So being able to channel your skill is a huge DPS boost. So that's why a lot of these things looks a little bit different in the terms of damage. But you always have to make sure that you are channeling your skill because it's a huge DPS difference. When you channel, you get a lot more hit rate. So you can see the hit rate on channeling is 7.42 and idle is 2.97, and the hit rate is pretty much how often the projectiles hit the target. And the more stages you have, Winter Orb does have up to 12 stages with the Helm enchant. The more stages you have, the faster the projectile frequency will be, and you also have longer duration for each stage. And Winter Orb is kind of an interesting skill in that you kind of want to stand a little bit far away from the target in order for all of the projectiles to shoot out and overlap. And because you need this overlap, AoE is an extreme premium for this build. So when you go in the PoB, you want to look at your AoE radius, and it needs to be around 28 to 29 for maximum overlap. And maximum overlap means that every single one of the projectiles can hit the boss if you stand at the right distance. And duration is a huge quality of life. So the longer the duration is, the more you can run through the map and not have to re-channel it for a split second or two. And definitely best enchant in the game is the Winter Orb Helmet enchant with +2 maximum stages. So why is Winter Orb not exactly the best for Aura Stacker? And the answer is that it is extremely hard for Aura Stackers to scale other things besides Aura Effect and like Crit Multi and Crit. So if you look at the tree, it's extremely stretched for points. I did change up the tree a little bit compared to what I currently have, mainly by moving the Militant Faith over here, a Natural Instinct over here to get the area of effect nodes. Well, you have to scale area, so you have to use like a magnifier towering threat cluster that you normally wouldn't need to worry about. And having to scale AoE in a tree that's already extremely limited in your points is a complete nightmare without very high level. And Aura Stackers also benefit from a lot of skills at the beginning of the conversion chain, right? So physical and lightning is huge for the skill. And you also have to find a way to fit in Herald of Ice. And Herald of Ice looks amazing and is also extremely important for clear. I did a few simulacrums, and not having Herald of Ice is a huge difference, right? So having to fit that extra 25% reservation efficiency in, having to fit all of the AoE in, means that the character is either substantially squishier or you do a lot less damage because you have to fit those things in. And a lot of people might be wondering, what is actually the best skill for Aura Stackers? And Aura Stacker, a lot of people don't understand, benefits from double dipping in a weird way, in that you actually benefit from your lightning aura and your hatred auras, right? So if you look at Wrath aura, it gives you 22% more spell lightning damage, and then it has flat lightning damage with attacks, which doesn't really benefit us. But basically, this more spell lightning damage gets converted to cold damage, and then the hatred scales all of that lightning damage that was multiplied by the Wrath aura. So now you get 19% more cold damage. Now, the reason being why you want to use Smite with Winter Orb is because of the conversion of the lightning damage to spells you get from Smite. So Smite gives you 20 to 381 flat lightning damage. So if you look at Winter Orb right now, we're going to channel it fully with Zealotry. We're at 42,000 damage, which is not too bad. But let's go look at what happens when we hit a mob with Smite. If we ever reach a mob with Smite. A little bit. Oh, did we actually smite anything? Oh my goodness, we can't actually smite any mob. It's killing everything. Alright, so right now you can see 112,000 from 42,000, right? That's just the difference between Smite. So a lot of people ask, why do you need Call of the Brotherhoods? The reason being is that you need Smite because of the damage conversion chain. And it is a huge deal. It's around triple damage, like I showed there. And the best skills are physical and lightning for Aura Stackers because you're at the beginning of the conversion chain. That's why you never really see any Aura Stacker footage with someone playing fire spells. So there's no chaos spells. You can't use Forbidden Rite. You can't use Fireball or something like that. And that's because those skills are at the end of the conversion chain. And in order to benefit from the full benefit of Aura Stacker and the synergy you have behind it, you need to find a way to utilize Hatred, Zealotry, and Wrath auras in perfect synergy with Smite, right? That's how you get the most damage. So the best skills are generally physical and lightning. The absolute cream of the crop is definitely like Penance Brand if it wasn't so bad and dog shit, because it's Fizz and Lightning tagged and it has built-in conversion. So if you play a Fizz skill, you have to find a way to get 100% conversion to Lightning. And Penance Brand already helps us out because you can use, what's it called? You already have 50% built-in conversion. And the most important thing about skills having elemental tags is the fact that you can use jewels like this, right? So that's why EK is kind of hard to scale, like pure Fizz skills, because there's no crit multi with physical skills. There's no crit multi with like a physical type mod. So you are missing out on lightning skill multi and elemental skill multi. The only multi you will have access to is spell damage and basic crit multi. So that's why physical skills are generally a lot harder to scale. Now, a lot of people might be wondering, how is the Winter Orb Aura Stacker different, and what did I do to build it differently? And the fact of the matter is, it's very similar except for the helmet and gloves. Like I said, the Nebulous is still better. If you take out Nebulous, it's like a 8x damage loss, even more to Annihilating Light. You still use the 2 Call of the Brotherhoods because of Smite conversion, but the biggest difference revolves around the helmet and gloves. Now, in order to get the area the best way to cheat the area is to use a Blizzard Crown with area of effect, and a Blizzard Crown also gives us a bunch of added cold damage, right? So you have Socket of Gems are supported by level 20 increased area of effect. This helmet is actually a lot easier to craft than the gloves for the Spark character because it's only a Shaper base. So you have a 1 in 2 chance of hitting supported skills supported by by increased area of effect if you do suffixes cannot be changed, and you do reforged influence. So it's not too bad of a craft, and then you have to gamble on the Ashling. Actually failed the gamble on the Ashling and got life on it, so I had to craft on +1. So I actually just cheated this to try to showcase how the helmet would actually look like if you didn't fail the gamble. Now, the gloves, because we have the free glove slot, we use Unnerve on hit. Ideally, you want the belt enchant with 50% crit to unnerved enemies. And then we pretty much use +2 AoE gems. I don't aspect of the spider, if one day you can ever get enough aura reservation, is actually technically decent, but I can't really do it in that case. Most important mod on the gloves is increased damage with hits against chilled enemies. And you want to make sure you get +2 AoE and +1 melee, so that your smite, if you look at here, the smite is level 27. You have +3 levels from the item, +1 from global modifiers, and +3 from empower. So that's how we get the smite all the way to level 27, right? And another important thing to note is that because we use the Blizzard Crown and it is influence and Shaper, it makes it so that we can't use the loading essence to get mana reservation efficiency. So we're kind of screwed in that aspect because all our suffixes are filled up. So you have to find more ways to actually get reservation efficiency than normal. Another thing I wanted to potentially do is to get this item fractured with this chilled enemies mod and use an essence, because I don't technically need lightning resist. And you could put the Herald of Ice in here perhaps, and you will get a lot more damage, right? And that's something that I might be doing and trying out in the near future, because Herald of Ice with crit will have a lot better clear, and this build is honestly being carried by Herald of Ice for map clear and its AoE. So what's the overall conclusions we have for this character? Now, Winter Orb is a great skill, severely limited by single target. Having like around 100 mil DPS, and this is like before I actually fully optimized the profile. Before, I was only looking at around like 40 mil, 50 mil. And 40 to 50 mil is just not enough to like endgame kill everything. Especially if you invest this much into the character, you expect the character to pay back in dividends for how fast it does like wave 30 simulacrums, how fast it does bosses. But definitely more of a mapping character than a bosser. But I do think if I actually got all of this endgame gear I put into this PoB, and I will include this PoB in the descriptions down below, is 130 points, as I'm accounting for the fact that I have 2 1 passive point voices. But I do think that 100 mil DPS should be enough to make everything feel good, and it should end up being a really fun character to play, right? And after Winter Orb, right, it's probably what's next? EK maybe? Ball Lightning maybe? Crackling Lance? Who knows, right? The sky's the limit. But now you know that I can't play any fire skills or chaos skills or attack skills because there's not enough synergy for Aura Stacker to make it work. So hopefully that clears up everything. For everyone asking me, oh, can you do Forbidden Right Aura Stacker? The answer is sadly, probably not. But thanks for watching, everyone. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I do try to get to them as much as possible. And I hope you find more Mirrors, Exalts, Mage Bloods, and Headhunters than me. And see you next time. Bye.